Here's a recipe that I have had in my binder for a long time. I don't even remember where I got it, but it's a good recipe, so I thought I'd share it with you. In a frying pan or a pot or whatever you want to use, I have 2 Granny Smith apples which I have peeled, cored, and cut into small cubes. To that I'm going to add 1/3 cup of sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and 2 teaspoons of water. And I'm going to put this on my burner, and I'm going to cook this now for about 5 or 6 minutes, maybe more, maybe less, I don't know, until the apples get a little bit softer and the sauce gets thick. This is almost like making a little bit of an apple pie filling. So like I said, this is going to take about 5 or 6 minutes. Well, this has been cooking now for about 4 or 5 minutes. It's getting thicker. I'm shutting off the heat. And what I'm going to do now is remove this from the heat, put it off to the side, and let it cool down. Now, in this dish, I put 1/2 cup of brown sugar and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and just mixed them up together. And that's going to be part of our topping and filling. So now what I need to do is put everything away, get my mixer out, and we'll proceed to make the cake. Now I'm going to make the batter for the apple fritter cake. We need a 9 by 13 inch pan. I'm going to be using a 9 by 13 inch springform, but normally this cake is made in one of those glass 9 by 13 pans, and I think everybody in the United States has one of those. So we're going to put this aside for the time being. I'm going to spray it with cooking spray before I put the batter in. I'm going to put that down while I make the cake batter. In my mixer, I'm going to start off with 5 1/3 tablespoons of room softened butter. Then I'm going to put it on my mixer and mix it with 3/4 cup of sugar. That's good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in 2 eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla, and I'm going to add in 1/2 cup of applesauce, just plain applesauce. Later on, I have in my bowl 2 1/4 cups of flour that's been mixed with 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then I also have 1 cup of sour cream. So these 2 will go in last, dry, wet, dry. So we're going to start with the eggs. Vanilla. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to give it a little scrape down. And then I'm going to add into here my applesauce. I'll leave that there. Turn it up a little bit. Just get it well blended. I'm going to scrape down the sides a little bit. Add the rest of my flour. And blend it well. That was close. That was the end of the can of cooking spray. Okay, now remember we had our cooked apples and our brown sugar and cinnamon mixture. Let's get this out of the way. My oven is on at 350 degrees, the famous 350. Now we're going to take half of this batter and put it in the pan. That's about half. And now I'm going to spread it out to cover the bottom. If you don't have sour cream handy, you might have a container of yogurt. You want to use the plain yogurt. Greek style is better probably because it's thicker, more like sour cream. Okay, now all of our apples, going to go on, kind of spread them out. In retrospect, I think, and I said this last time I made it, is I probably would put another apple in there because there's not a lot of apple in here. But this is the old recipe that I have, and I'm making it the way they said to. Kind of spread them out. Now, half of the brown sugar cinnamon mixture over the top. Rest of the batter. This cake will bake in the 350 degree oven for about 35 to 45 minutes. And then when it comes out of the oven, we're going to make a glaze that's going to go on the cake while it's still right out of the oven. Oops, lost it. And back to spreading this out. And don't worry about, you don't have to cover everything. You know, peeking through, some apples peeking through and stuff is not a bad thing. And now the rest of the brown sugar and cinnamon mixture all over the top. And there you go. Into the oven, 35 to 45 minutes. The apple fritter cake is almost done. So while it's still in the oven and just before it comes out, I'm going to make the glaze that goes on top, because we have to put the glaze on when the apple cake is still very hot. So in my bowl, I have 2 cups of confectioner's sugar. I'm going to put in 1/3 cup of whole milk, teaspoon of my vanilla, and give it a good mix. Yes, it's watery, don't worry about it. Okay, let me get the cake. There's our beautiful cake. And now, with a flat knife, I'm going to make holes. That's what I counted anyway. All right, so on the glaze goes. And now what we need to do is, I'm going to throw on some pecans too. You don't have to put on pecans if you don't want to. Totally up to you. I just like pecans, and I thought a few of them on there would be kind of nice. Can't cut it for 20 minutes. We've got to let this glaze set. So we're just going to let it set, and then we'll come back and serve it later. Well, our apple fritter cake has been sitting well over 15 minutes, a little more like 25. It smells amazing. So I'm going to take the sides off. If you had a regular 9x13, of course you can't take the sides off, but that's one of the reasons why I love these pans. There we go. Looking good. Now let's cut a piece. There you go. You can see the apples in there. The smell is amazing. And there we go. There's our apple fritter cake.